Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Two Jews, three opinions. I'm sure we're all familiar with this telling quip. It's perfect. So short, yet so resonant. It's even a little bit funny. A people as diverse as us, as ancient and as stubborn, it could be no other way. The story of our history, a disparate group spread about amongst the furthest recesses of the globe, is one of dialogue, of debate. One need look no further than our own Canon, the Torah, to see that it too comprises multiple tellings of the same narratives, each offering a slightly different account. Laws too. Perhaps most famously, the Ten Commandments, which are recorded first in Exodus and later in Deuteronomy, Shamor and Zachor. A keen reader of the text will notice these slight differences, sometimes as small as a word or a phrase, but immensely significant regardless. Sometimes, though, the dissimilarity is much more apparent. Glaring textual inconsistencies have long been fodder for critics who wish to deride the authority of the scriptural canon. Exposing the seams of this ancient patchwork, and thus the evidence of human authorship, they believe, will weaken the moral weight that the sacred scroll commands. For some, it certainly does, but not for everyone. There are those who embrace the incongruous texture of the canon, running their fingers across the stitching sewn by their ancestors is its own form of spiritual practice. For them, the words of the Jewish French philosopher Emmanuel Levinas ring true. Quote, "Why worry about philology and history challenging the supposed date and origin of the sacred texts if these texts are intrinsically rich in value? The sacred sparks of individual revelations have produced the light needed, even if they were thrown up at different points in history. The miracle of their convergence is no less marvelous than the miracle of a single source." Though the critics might not realize it, the miracle of convergence is a thoroughly Jewish disposition. Judaism is a convergence. It is a discourse of deliberate disagreement from a series of disparate and discrete sources. Two Jews, three opinions. This is our canon. It always has been. It is the discourse to which all Jews must hold themselves accountable, the paradigm to which we attune our lives, the sovereign text that binds us in a singular cause, to uphold its sanctity without compromise, every verse, every opinion equally significant, equally sacred. It is the keel of our ships as we navigate through an ocean of competing interests, one forged through millennia. It will keep you balanced in rough waters and changing tides, but it will not be your rudder. Ultimately, your hands rest alone on the steering wheel. It is a problem set, a corpus of ethical questions posed and argued by our ancestors, the foundation upon which we each construct unique scaffolding of our day-to-day lives. And as such, our canon continues to grow. Two Jews, three opinions. In this week's Parsha, Parashat Emor, we read, among many other things, about in-groups and out-groups, priests who are allowed to serve and priests who are not, animals that are fit to be sacrificed and animals that are not. After demarcating one group from the other, the text leaves us with an odd selection, one that seems almost out of place. Rather curiously, Parashat Emor ends with a complicated legal case, a blasphemer from the social periphery. someone who profaned the name of the Israelite God, but whose status as an Israelite themselves is questionable in the ancient context. They are as much in the camp as they are out of it, both Israelite and Egyptian. Moses, the chief arbiter of Israel, is unsure of how to address this situation. How is he to prosecute such a serious crime? Surely the consequences for blaspheming the God of Israel depend upon one's status as an Israelite, a status that was, in the biblical narrative, anything but certain. So it's through divine intercession that Moses gets his answer. Mishpat echad yihiyeh lachem kager ka'ezrach yihiyeh ki ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall have one standard for stranger and citizen alike, for I, the Eternal, am your God. Mishpat echad, one standard, says God, for the stranger and citizen alike. Israelite or Egyptian, all are equally accountable for profaning the holy name. Rashi, the great commentator of medieval France, picks up on this verse, noting the significance of the last few words, for I, the Eternal, am your God. Your God, he wrote, the God of all of you. Just as I attach my name uniquely to you, so do I attach it uniquely to the strangers. With his comment, Rashi offers a radical reading of this egalitarian commandment. From a multitude of individuals comes a single common standard. And why? Because all people have a unique relationship with God, and therefore people are equal in the eyes of this law. In this regard, an offense to any relationship between a person and God is an offense between every person and God. When it comes to blasphemy, there can be no unfair prejudice, no double standard. Everyone's relationship to divinity is equally sacred, whatever that relationship might look like. It's a nice picture, but it's an imagined picture. What might it look like to live in a world with such a standard, where everyone's ultimate concern is protected by divine fiat? How would such an idea help to bring members of the periphery more towards the center? What would it mean for the world to live according to a single standard by which we are all accountable? Rashi's interpretation of this commandment broadens how we might imagine an answer, and so too does the modality of a textual canon. Not in content per se, but rather as a model of miraculous convergence, much in the way Levinas describes. Each of us, Israelite and Egyptian alike, is a unique revelation from a different point in history. Each of us, Israelite or otherwise, is a sacred text, a unique, discrete person who, in the mind of the great author, must be woven together to create a deeply textured canon. Each of us, from different points in history, are a sacred spark of individual revelation. And as such, each of us must be committed to upholding the sanctity of this master text without compromise. Every verse, every opinion, every person, equally significant, equally sacred. This past week, our incongruity has been glaringly apparent. With a news cycle as torrential and cacophonous as ours, it was striking to reflect on the last few days and recall the appalling acts of violence that have occurred on the world stage, from the White House Correspondents' Dinner to the incident in North London. There was once a time when each of these tragic events would have occupied our minds with a pernicious anxiety in its own right. Now, catastrophically common, they beat up and roll down like water on a new raincoat, making immediate way only for the next droplet to fall. But there is a solution, a way to bring members of the periphery more towards the center and to uphold the dignity of disagreement, a way to stitch together the different fabrics of those who are in and those who are out. And it is modeled in this week's Parsha. A single standard, a common canon. Its realization depends upon us seeing one another as living texts, each the product of a genuine and unique relationship with the divine. As Jews, we can model this approach. We already have a certain disposition to it. So let it begin with us, with 2 Jews, 3 opinions, and 1 canon. Shabbat Shalom.